Good Saturday morning, everybody. Episode 290. That sounds crazy to me, but episode 290 of Hobby Hotline. John Newman, Sports Card Nation, a rare appearance for me as of recent, but filling in for Drew, who's in, I believe, Dallas. He's in your neck of the woods.
He's at the Dallas. He's at the K. Bailey Hutchinson Convention Center at Collecticon as we speak.
So I'm jumping in. Adam's filling in for Erica. So this is like the pinch hitter episode. So
and I'm hitting for me.
Yep. And Rich is in his normal chair. So Rich is the only normal guy here. We don't get to say that too often. So anytime we
that
can.
may be the first time anybody's ever said that.
Yeah. So as you can see, also joining me, as we just pointed out, Adam from Heroes for Sale and Uncle Rich Clyde. Good morning, guys.
Good morning. I got it. Let's lead off with some really good news.
All right. Yeah. Go. I think I know where you're going, but go ahead. And if
well,
you're not,
I'm going to steal your thunder. I'm pleased to announce that one of our favorite hosts is returning in the very near future.
Oh, yeah, that wasn't what I was even thinking of, but that's true too. Yes, happy to announce Chris Carlin, formerly of Upper Deck, now of Collectors, will be a part of the regular rotation of Hobby Hotline. He was once before, so it's not he's not new to the show. He's just coming back after, he left on good terms. He just, with his new roles, he had to, get established there and make sure it was okay. So he has the thumbs up. So you'll see. Probably in March, as we close out February here, you'll see Chris Carlin once again. And if you know Chris, as we do, just a great person of the hobby and one of the good guys, and happy to have him back. That when he asked, when I was talking to him and he says, "Hey, I can come back. Do you want me?" I didn't hesitate. Said, "Hey, you're welcome." So we'll see him when the new schedule comes out. In March, but welcome to Chris. But while we're doing some house cleaning, Danny Black, another one of our hosts, his two boys, Zach and Connor, they're doing their bar mitzvah today. So congrats So congrats to the Black family. Good luck, Zach and Connor. No, I don't think you'll need it. And so congrats to the Blacks today as they celebrate that milestone as well. I had forgotten earlier in the week, so when we were kind of scrambling, like who's going to fill in, he's like, "You ain't going to see me, John." So you got me instead, but for good reason, obviously, there, guys. So good morning, everybody. Well, I'll try to catch up on some of these comments here. Philly Joe, good morning. DJ's online. Good morning. File 5 Ball. Our very own Adam, Splendid Sports. Good morning. Mike Petty as well. Cooter Lev from you, I think, down from Dallas too.
He's from Oklahoma. He's from Oklahoma.
Oh, close. We'll count it. Close enough.
That's close enough.
Abel in Vegas. Good morning. Mookie Chilson, this guy makes me laugh all the time. Mike Petty, all those guys. So welcome. Thanks for being in the chat. Guys, I guess we'll start off with our first topic today. She's kind of I don't want to say talking to women's sports world, but talking of the sports world right now is Caitlin Clark of Iowa. Just set the all-time NCAA scoring record. And what's going on now, I'm sure you guys have heard it too, right? The same debate we have on the men's side of basketball, right? Greatest of all time, LeBron, Jordan, who is it? Somebody else. Now that's going on the women's side. People will point to Caitlin Clark, Connecticut, or other basketball fans will say Rebecca Lobo, our very own Brianna Stewart, who basically used to live right over there from me, our hometown girl, 4 national titles, never not won one in her time at UConn, obviously in the WNBA now. So now the debate rages on the women's side of the basketball house, greatest of all time. But let's bring a hobby aspect into it. One thing she is the greatest of all time is hobby-wise, highest selling female athlete card with a $78,000 one-of-one superfractor. So that title can't be argued, guys. She's going to hang her head on that. Not that she personally cares, but um, well, kind of weigh in here, guys. I don't know who wants to go first, but thoughts on Go, the card going for 78K, what she's doing for the hobby, any direction you sort of want to go.
I
Um,
don't know. I'm sorry.
yeah.
Go ahead, Adam.
No, yeah, you go ahead, Rich.
I don't know if she's the greatest basketball player, women's basketball, college women's basketball player of all time, but she's the most transcendent women's basketball player of all time, which is why the interest. She plays the game with a flair. She's hitting these shots from four, and she's tall, and she's hitting these shots from 40 feet away. She is doing what Steph Curry does in basketball, hits these seemingly impossible shots, and does it with a flair. Now, that doesn't mean she's the greatest of all time. She also assists very well. She passes the ball very well, but she has drawn the most interest. And in today's world, she is the first real She is the first real superstar beneficiary of the new NIL rules. I mean, we had those two girls playing for Miami that were the gorgeous blondes, and they made a lot of money with NIL, but they made it as much on their looks as they did on, and they were decent basketball players, but they did it more on their looks. She's doing it on her talent.
Couple comments real quick, Adam. I like these. TJ says, wish the Sixers had her right now. And Stuke says, hey, she could be that bird magic injection to the WNBA. I'm assuming like hobby wise and along those legs. And Five Foul Ball says 78K is 78K too much. So obviously, Foul Five Ball not a women's basketball or a women's basketball hobby fan. But go ahead, Adam. Sorry about that. I just wanted.
Oh, no, that's right. Yeah. So, well, she actually has the top 2 most expensive women's basketball cards. Right. Number 1 was the Superfractor from Bowman U, the PSA 10, 78,000. Number 2, not as much. It was the 2022 Bowman U Best Superfractors autograph that got 16,000. And then number 3 is Sabrina Ionescu, who is like, I sort of thought that she was going to be what Caitlin Clark is to this league. I mean, obviously we just saw Sabrina in the 3-point contest that she did with Steph Curry. I think that was, I thought that was really cool. And I mean, I wish, with the seasons being different, like with the WNBA and the NBA seasons, like the WNBA season is more during the summer. It's probably harder to get some of the players to integrate that into, like they've done in the past with like the skills competition where they bring some of the WNBA players and then they had a former NBA player and then an NBA player on the team. So I mean, I guess that maybe contradicts what the point I was just trying to make with maybe it's hard to get some of the players, but I think like when Caitlin Clark makes it to the league, like she's gonna be in that competition for sure. So I think, I think it's going to be very interesting to see like what happens to those cards. I mean, yeah, 78,000 I think is pretty high, but at the same time, like that's her best card. Like the one thing that I usually bring up with cards like this is opportunity cost. Like how often is this one of one? How often is the best card that she's ever going to have? Will that even be available? So it's like, sure, maybe 78,000 is a little bit too much, but also another point to that is like somebody who's spending 78,000 on a card, that's not their last 78,000. They're not like, they have a lot of money to be spending $78,000 on a sports card. So for them, again, that kind of ties in with that and then the opportunity cost. Like how often is a card like that going to be available? Not very often, since there's only one of them, and since it's probably the best of the bunch, best of the cards that she's had. So I just see that as like that's probably on top of the reasons where she's just a monster. I think that we're, potentially getting into a territory where the hype behind her is similar to Luka, where she's going to have, titles and all of these things kind of baked into her card prices potentially. And she potentially could have 2 more shots at an NCAA title because she was a freshman, I believe, during COVID. So she has an extra year, which would be next year's year. So she has this year, which, I think South Carolina is really good. I think UConn with Paige Buchers is obviously a contender. You still have LSU with all of their returning starters from last year who beat Caitlin Clark in the finals last year. I think a lot of people remember that with the viral moment with Angel Reese, who was at the National doing the like face thing to Caitlin Clark, because that was Caitlin Clark's thing. So again, like these things are big for women's sports, and I think they're important. I think also too with women's sports just in general, but especially women's basketball, they're just on TV more. Like that's why we're seeing more publicity about these players that are on, because it's just been on TV more. Like the amount of times where you turn on ESPN and there's a women's basketball game going on, it's a great change, where in the past you'd have like, I don't know, random, like, which I still think they do this, like the cornhole championships or something, which is still fine. Like if it's the championships, I'm fine with that, but it would be like the quarterfinals in like some random city in the Midwest. So it's like, I think it's all in all, I think it's a really great thing that we're seeing what Caitlin Clark is doing. I mean, there's still other great players that are in the league as well. So we'll see if she goes to the draft. Like I said, she has an extra year of eligibility. So if she doesn't win the national championship this year, potentially she could play again next year if she wanted to because of COVID. But I don't know. I mean, I would obviously, and also the other thing to think about is, like you said, her being one of the first beneficiaries really of this NIL deal with her play on the court. Like, she probably is making more money right now than she would be if she was in the WNBA. I don't know. She would obviously be making money on top of all the sponsorships that she's making with WNBA contract, but it's like she isn't restricted probably with what type of deal she can do. So it's like, for her, it's like, well, I can keep playing this, and it's like, I can keep playing Wisconsin on a random Saturday and put up 60 points and be like the superstar, or I can go to the WNBA and maybe not do as well. I mean, I don't know, I don't know. It's interesting, but I'm a fan. Obviously, I'm a fan here, and I'm happy to see what she's done with women's cards and with women's sports just in general.
Yeah, a couple comments here from Rex, who asked, does an average WNBA does a WNBA team have enough of a budget to pay Clark more than what she's making with the NIL? I would venture a guess they could. I mean, that doesn't. I believe the NBA owns the WNBA, so if they wanted to influx some money to get her to leave school early, I like this. I don't always like John Keating's comments, but I do like this one. He says we don't need a dollar amount to appreciate a sport. I love women's college basketball now more than men's. Doesn't translate to collecting them. Great point by JK, right? Wow, it's nice to talk about cards that are set in auction house records. At the end of the day, really doesn't have anything to do with the sport on the court in this case itself. So she is compared to Steph. So Abel in Vegas says in 2025, when Fanatics takes over, will they produce dual autos with Caitlin and Steph Curry? That would be funny, and a very, as we all know, in demand card as well. So a lot of comments with, hey, if I had $8,000 to spend on cards, I can get some really nice vintage stuff. I get that, right? If you don't collect Caitlin Clark or female cards, then you're going to compare like, hey, what could have I bought with that same amount of money? So I get it. Now I will weigh in on the greatest, and so Brianna Stewart's always brought up 4 titles, 4 years in stores. That's our local North Syracuse girl here. But I will say this in Caitlin Clark's defense, Brianna Stewart, being a 5-star recruit herself, also played with 4 other starting 5-stars. So those Connecticut teams, most years, I could be the 5th player and we'd still win a title shooting bricks. So, Caitlin Clark doesn't have 4 or 5 stars around her in Iowa. So we can, comparing UConn basketball to a lot of other teams and just pointing to rings, I don't think it's fair to Caitlin Clark. I think she has to be obviously in the conversation. It's going to be one of those conversations like the Jordan and LeBron that, whatever side you're on, you're going to be, adamant and staunch in your defense of your players. So it can rage on. We're not going to, end the debate on this show, but I'll just say in Caitlin Clark's defense, those UConn players had like literally all-star touring teams that they won titles with. So it doesn't mean they weren't good or the individual players weren't the greatest. It just means when we point to rings, we got to keep that in mind.
Well, I also just really
Ed.
quick. I think if she goes on to the NCAA tournament and does this like same types of performances, that's going to be very impressive. Because if you look at the talent that's in the or that's in the women's NCAA basketball right now, it's very similar to like that the or not similar, but it's a group of talent that I think we haven't really seen all together playing in the NCAA in the past. Like you said, like with UConn, like it was basically like if you were to take that UConn team that you were talking about with all the 5-star recruits and just put them all on different teams, that's kind of what we're seeing right now within the WNBA. So like these players in the NCAA, these players, once they go into the WNBA, it's going to be like a whole new group of really talented superstars that are going to be rookies that are all going to develop across the next couple of years. And so I don't know. I mean, sure, maybe she doesn't win. I think it's going to depend on how her college career ends. If she gets to another championship, then I think maybe the conversation does shift a little bit from like, well, she needed a championship to, well, she made it to 2 championships and look how dominant she was throughout the course of it. I don't know. Like you said, we're not going to end the debate here, but that's just another thing to think about. Oop. You're muted.
John, you're muted. Okay.
Okay. All right. I'm just going to say some comments in the chat room. With the WNBA not bucking up, they lose some players to overseas. I get it. I don't know how much. I'm assuming the NBA is heavily involved. They just probably don't want to pour a lot of money and lose, right? When they already have a money winner under their belt in the NBA. So I think that has a lot to do with. Here's some salaries Mike Summer dug up here. So we see, $250,000 here in almost in these 3 players: Jewel Lloyd, Arike Ogumawale, and Diana Taurasi. So there's money, right? There's money to be made. And I got it without, being an expert. I got to think Caitlin Clark would probably command similar contracts as those players, especially being younger and would be basically a WNBA rookie. So those are all a little bit older players, especially in Diana Taurasi's case. She's got to be in her 40s, I venture a guess. So Stuke says Maya Moore won NCAA and WNBA rings. Great to watch her play in Minnesota. So, we got the U.S. ladies soccer so much. They didn't get much hype, and she's a professional GOAT. So, that'll be the other argument too. Why do certain female athletes get more shine than other ones? And we do that in men's sports too. So when we talk about overrated and underrated. So any final comments, Rich, to close this topic out?
I think we're ready for the next one. And Caitlin Clark's a heck of a good player and a heck of a great player. And let's enjoy her while she's still at Iowa and see what she comes up with for the rest of the season.
Yeah, another great comment from Mike. And, this NIL thing has really changed the landscape as well, because now these players, and this is not a female thing. This is male and female at the college level. If they have more options to take different deals and not take other ones, or go play on whether it be overseas or even in a different league. And so money talks, as they've always said, and that will continue. Speaking of money talks, let's go into our next topic here, guys, and that's the LIV or the LIV Golf Tour. Panini announced it's a multi-year deal. We don't know how many years exactly. I think this is a bigger deal than maybe some people do. People forget the LIV Golf and the PGA announced the merger, if I'm not mistaken. So this is just golf. This isn't like Obviously, you see the card I use here is a Dustin Johnson Prism Auto. Um, but this is a golf deal. This isn't just one golf league. This is the professional level of golf, guys. So this is a big deal for Panini, who is obviously, as we all know, going to be losing some big licensing deals. They're hedging their bets here with the LIV or just golf. I'll just say golf because when we used to sell LIV, you still had the PGA on the other side. Now they're basically one and the same. There will be no Tiger Woods cards in this product. Full transparency, as I believe he's still signed to Upper Deck. Will that change? We know Fanatics has enough money to lure people away. They just did that with LeBron from Upper Deck. So will Tiger be the next shoe to drop to Fanatics way? But this is a big deal in Panini's cap. Again, it's announced as multi-year, not specific. 2-3 years is my guess, and then we'll have, I'm sure, a bidding war between Fanatics and Panini to keep it past that initial Panini deal. Guys, what do you think about this? The biggest deal is I'm making it, or am I overhyping this?
Go ahead, Rich.
Okay, we were talking about this in the green room or whatever we want to call our warm-up room before, and to me, this is similar to tennis. And several years ago, I wrote an article when I was writing for GTS about the problem with trying to sell tennis cards. And one of the big issues with selling tennis cards is you're not in any place really. I mean, for the majors, you're at a place for 17, 18 days. And that's more than you're at any place for a golf tournament. There's no hometown teams in golf tournaments. John's got Syracuse University. They did win a national title. It's 20 years ago, but the basketball team did win a national title under a very famous coach. They've got a long history. And, in the 80s, your players like Ronnie Cycli and Louis Orr, and I believe Dwayne the Pearl Washington went to Syracuse. And you have people like that. They were stars, and they would make a lot of money today with NIL, but that's a different subject for a different day. Adam's wearing his Red Sox cap. You've got a hometown team in the Boston Red Sox, and Boston's got the Red Sox, they got the Bruins, they got the Celtics, they got the New England Patriots. Golf doesn't have a hometown team. So you have to be a fan of the golfer. And I don't think, unlike auto racing and our friend Logan Ward, I don't think you have as much interest in being fans of individual golfers and the merchandise as you do for racers. And that's the biggest problem everybody's always had with golf carts. And the reason Upper Deck did well enough with golf at the turn of the century was they had Tiger Woods. Well, Tiger Woods was a transcendent figure. We talked about that with Caitlin Clark being a transcendent figure. There's no transcendent figure in golf right now. And there's no hometown team in golf. And so you have to hope that the hobby wants these cards because you don't have logical places to sell them, to fans coming into a city or something like that, other than for a very brief window.
Yeah, and then
here, go ahead, Adam. Go ahead.
I was gonna. If you have something to say, I can go after. I'll do my.
Well,
I
think golf is going to be a better. I'm not saying golf is the NBA or golf is Major League Baseball or NFL or even maybe soccer, but I think. I think this is going to be a bigger deal than I think that there are a lot of golf fans. People, and then whether you agree with it or not, right? You can put anything on a Prism card, right? I've seen pickleball. You could put crocheting folks of America on a Prism card, and there's going to be some demand just for the fact that it's depicted on a Prism card, just the mystique. Around that product, right? And Tiger Woods, while he's not in this deal, if he eventually becomes part of the deal, let's say Fanatics gets the next licensing with LIV, backs up the Brinks truck to the Tiger Woods and gets him in the product, then that's going to be an even bigger deal. But I think there's people that move the meter in golf, the Dustin Johnson, Brian Archibald, not in the same way Shohei Ohtani or LeBron James. I'm not putting them on that level, but there'll be an interest in this product. Panini is going to make some money on this deal. I know a lot of the comments in the chat room are, "I hate golf. Golf is boring." I get it. I don't watch golf. I mean, I know a little bit about some of the better players just from watching, whether it be Sports Center or Fox Sports or something like that. I'm not necessarily a golf fan, but I think people will open this product just in chase of hits, right? In chase of chase cards. So this product will sell, and I think you'll even see people who aren't necessarily golf collectors at least dip their toe in the water, if you will. Go ahead, Adam.
Yeah, so I mean, I have a couple different thoughts here. Like LIV, for example, the way that they're set up is I believe that they do have teams, I guess, like they have team names. So if you go back to if you could pull up that Justin Johnson card again really quick, they if you look up in the top left or the top right above his name, I believe that's the team that the LIV team that Dustin Johnson plays for. And I'm all good with that. I just want to point that out. They do have teams technically, and there is a golf league that has that does a franchising model. And the only reason I really know about what the franchising model is because Call of Duty as an esport, that's a thing that I follow. And a couple years ago, they franchised. So they had hometown teams. So Boston got a team, which is the team that I follow, which is this team, the Boston Breach. They're okay. But again, I was a fan of Call of Duty, but then I became a fan of the team from Boston because of that. Now, would that have happened? Would I have chose a different one? I'm not really sure. It's kind of similar with golf where before it was just there was hundreds of different teams, and same with golf, there's hundreds of different players. You just become a fan of whatever the team or the player ends up being. And so with LIV, I wonder if this is going to be a similar situation with LIV and PGA that it is with the WWE and the UFC, where TKO is a company that owns the WWE and the UFC, but as of right now, UFC just switched over to Topps, and WWE is still with Panini, I believe. So I wonder if it's going to be a split partnership where LIV, PGA is with Upper Deck right now, and then LIV is with Panini. And if there's going to be any type of merger, because LIV wasn't even something that was on my radar in terms of a license that I thought a card company would want, just based on the fact that you look at if we're talking contracts, if we're talking NIL contracts in women's college basketball, look at the contracts that some of these players in LIV signed to move from the PGA to LIV. From my understanding, Tiger Woods was offered $1 billion for 3 years or something along those lines. He was offered $1 billion, not in the millions, $1 billion, which I mean, that would end up being $330 million a year. It's the same with why Ronaldo went over to play in Saudi Arabia, that's the country that owns the LIV Golf. Ronaldo went for the money. Same with Neymar. Unfortunately, he got hurt kind of early on, but either way, he went for the money, unfortunately. So like I said, LIV was never really on my radar of a license that I thought a company would get, especially a company like Panini. I'll be interested to know. We'll never know, I guess, but it's interesting, how much they paid for this. Because if it's not something that there was anybody, if there were no other suitors, then they probably didn't pay too much. But if Fanatics was in the mix, Fanatics has way more money than Panini does. So if Fanatics passed up on this, I think that says more about just the LIV contract in general, or just maybe golf in general for Fanatics. They don't really care about golf the same way because I don't know, maybe down the road they're trying to get the PGA. Maybe that's what they're trying to do. And this could be, like I said, Fanatics has always been pretty good at going one step ahead of the business move that needs to be made in order to acquire the other thing. They signed Bronny. They signed Rich Paul's this one of the C-suite executives at Rich Paul's agency, which is also LeBron's agency, to come and be the basketball I think player relations manager at Fanatics, so that way they could get LeBron. That was both those moves were to get LeBron. So I don't know if Panini is doing the same thing here, where they're trying to get LIV, so that way eventually down the road they can get PGA. I don't know if that's going to happen. I think without Tiger being in the product, I think that loses a lot of luster in terms of a PGA product that Panini could put out. But there are some good names within the sport right now that are interesting. But like, I don't know. I guess we'll see if this is a move for the future or if this is a move for Panini just like trying to do one last ditch effort to try and come out with some sort of product and make a little bit more money until ultimately, I don't know, until their ultimate demise. I don't really want to be super cynical about it, but it's just like all the dominoes seem to fall in that direction. So it's interesting that they're still trying to get they're still trying to get other licenses, but at the same time I almost wish that they would not focus on that and focus on the actual products that they're coming out with, because if we're going to be honest, the products have been bad. Like they just haven't been the QA of these products that they've been coming out with have not been good. So they have people focusing on trying to get live golf and not focusing on trying to make sure that the Anthony Richardson autographs are real. Like that's the one guy that you have in your product, and that's not live golf, but that's just maybe another rant for another day. But that's just, that's where I'm at in terms of this live golf situation. I think within Panini, I think.
John, you muted again.
I know. I keep doing that to keep my mouth shut. The comment from the battery: it should be immensely popular with golf fans because there hasn't been any product to collect for years. I think it's going to sell. Now, Adam brings up a good point, right? What did they pay to get the licensing? That's where whether it's going to be, they're going to take a loss on it or they're going to win on it, right? Like he said, we'll probably won't know. They're probably not going to announce that figures, and they're always going to portray it as the product's doing very well and they're glad to have it. And another, like Adam brought up, was there a bidding war? How far did Fanatics go to try to get it to? We don't even know. Did Liv just go to Panini, or did Panini just go to Liv and say, let's get this deal done? And that's, or maybe there wasn't a bidding war. Maybe they just, two parties found each other and said, let's get married here. Whatever that cost is, that we'll probably won't know. I think this will sell. To what level remains to be seen. And breakers are I saw comments. Breakers are going to get all the big hits, but you better believe you're going to see this with breaking outfits. Breaking this product down, especially the higher end, the prisms, and if they do like national treasures top type of releases, you better believe those breakers are going to be selling spots and that sort of thing. So we may not like it, we may not buy it, but that doesn't mean there isn't a market for it, right? So I think, listen, they're losing licensing, they're trying to scratch and claw and survive, and so this is probably one of those ways they're trying to do it.
Well, I think you actually just made a great point that I think the chat and honestly just people on social media in general could probably take from that. If you don't like something, don't buy it. It seems fairly simple to understand. Like I see a lot of people complaining about the products, but it's like if you don't buy it, like there's going to be people that buy it, but at the same time it's like if there are customers that don't buy it, like I mean I don't know what the percentage of people who are complaining but then end up buying it are, but like that's just always been my kind of thought process within social media is like, if you don't like something, don't buy it. Now that's coming from somebody who does a daily podcast, but at the same time, it's like who complains about stuff. But at the same time, it's like I said, just if you don't like something, just don't go out of your way to buy it. Like that, it seems fairly simple, but at the same time, like there's hundreds and thousands of tweets all the time about people just complaining about, random things on the internet, which is just, that's kind of par for the course if you're using the internet at this point, but still.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? You control whatever your card market is, where you put your dollars from your wife. Said that, till my face turned blue on the podcast. This product is going to sell. Will it sell enough for Panini to be glad they paid what they paid for the licensing? Only time's going to tell. We'll, like Adam said, we'll probably never really know. They're not going to come out, even if they were to lose, Adam and Rich and Panini's never going to say, well, we took a swing at the LIV golf and we lost $10 million. You'll never know. Someone on the inside might know that, and maybe they leak it out, but they're never going to, even if that's the case. All the marketing is going to be, we got this. Look at what's in this product. This is the chase card, Super Factor 101. They're obviously going to hype it up. And I see some funny comments in the chat room. What's next? 90-day fiance cards. Who knows, right? We've seen, we've seen crazier things, man. The non-sports have really sort of risen in the last few years as well. So nothing surprises me anymore. We've seen pickleball cards, we've seen bowling cards, we've seen some crazier releases. So we've seen Gary Vee do cartoon cards with characters that sold like hotcakes. So yeah, maybe 90 Day Fiance is not as far off the beaten path as we'd like to think it is. And Panini's going to scratch and claw and get licensing that maybe no one watching at this moment is buying, but someone else out there is going to take out their wallet and make a transaction. And it's smart to try to think outside the box, especially when you're about to lose some major income generators.
Should we point out that Beyonce has the #1 country single in the country right now?
It's the crossovers that people don't exactly expect.
#1 in the country.
Only rich if she's dating a famous athlete. Is she dating like
Beyonce? Beyonce's Beyonce's
to
married Jay-Z. Okay, right.
Well, he's got sports cards. He's got a top basketball.
He does have his cards.
So I'm dead on. And
Jay-Z's cards bring crazy money.
It's called Texas Hold'em.
I haven't heard it. I don't know. I'm not necessarily a Beyonce fan.
John, you're a sped ed teacher or a sped ed teacher's aide. Ask your kids to play it for you.
I'm sure I'll hear it when they shouldn't be on their phones, and I can tell them to turn it off.
Yeah, they're on their phones in their class. From what my wife is telling me, I guarantee you they're on their phones in your classes too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they are. We got to tell them to put it away till their work's done. So, I'm sure it's a big hit, but Jay-Z has cards. I mean, it's probably very few cards that haven't been made yet, and that's probably coming. Any last comments, Rich, on LIV? I know you kind of started it off before we go to the next,
I hope it, I did want to go to one point of Adams though. Panini does have at least one soccer license or two of their soccer licenses are going for more than 5 years. So they've got some solid licenses that are going to be around till 2030, 2031. So they have a reason to stay in business.
Right.
It's not like they're going to have nothing. Soccer is a big sport. So
and they have like you said, FIFA World Cup, whichever license you want to call it. But with that FIFA, I mean, that they're at least going to have it through 2026. So I mean, that's going to with the 2026 being in the United States with the World Cup final being in the illustrious town of East Rutherford, New Jersey. That should be very interesting. I mean, I heard luckily that they are switching out the turf for grass. Thank God, because if you're trying to tell me we're trying to put Mbappe on some fake grass, I would cancel the World Cup altogether. Like, just don't even have those players go on that type of thing. If Aaron Rodgers goes out there and takes one step and tears Achilles, please do. These players have $1 billion license or $1 billion insurance, like Ronaldo, Mbappe. They got $1 billion insurance policies on their legs. When the insurance companies heard that they were going to be playing at MetLife Stadium, they were like making sure they were crossing their I's and crossing their T's.
Those are conditions, by the way, from FIFA that they have to play on grass.
And I hope
it should be like that in the NFL. To be honest, they should just switch it to the NFL. But yeah,
I hope Kathy Bates is listening. That these big time soccer players have insurance contracts on there.
And I will also tell you that that's the Giant Stadium or MetLife Stadium, whatever they now call, what I still call Giant Stadium, in East Rutherford, New Jersey, was actually the home of the finals of the '94 World Cup as well. So, I mean, it may be a little town to you, but it's actually 15 minutes from New York City. Very accessible by car. And believe it or not, you can take the bus there too. So it's a very accessible place to go to, which is something, and I live in Texas. You can't take public transportation to go to Arlington. It'd be nice to take the train from Dallas to Arlington and watch the game.
Yeah, honestly, it might just be the Boston rivalry in me talking a little bit of crap about New Jersey. But again, at the same time, it's like there's going to be the quarterfinals going to be in Foxborough, which people are saying is Boston, but it's like 45 minutes. Actually, never mind. I could go off on a rant on when they start calling Boston when they have the Patriots on the main stage and then they put them in Boston. It's like it's 45 minutes away. Okay, sorry.
Well, I will tell you, East Rutherford is legitimately 10 to 15 minutes away from the
Right.
Lincoln Tunnel. It is not 45 minutes away. Maybe during some really bad rush hours, yes, but it's not. 45 minutes away is like Newark, New Jersey.
Right.
There's a difference.
Which, by the way, no offense to Newark, New Jersey, not the best town. I know we bag on Atlantic City. Newark
there's some nice areas in Newark, by the way.
Yeah, I haven't seen them yet, Rich, but I haven't been looking too hard either.
Well,
so, I'm sure there is. There's a good and bad section in every city, including the one I live in. So
let's get to the next topic.
All right. Yeah. Sorry, Newark. All right. So we talked a little bit about soccer. So let's go into more soccer talk. We're all familiar with the debut patches that were put on Major League Baseball players making their first ever appearance in a Major League game, and then those patches were made into 1-of-1 cards to be distributed in Fanatics/Topps product. Well, it's coming to Major League Soccer as well. We see in this photo here, there are the debut patches. One kind of cool thing I read with this new launch of this, I believe the Major League ones had to actually be cut out. They were stitched, so they had to be cut. These are, I believe, Velcroed on, so they could actually just be kind of ripped off and then made into the cards that they are going to become. So they've improved as far as the ease of getting them off the uniform and into a card. They're just literally like Velcro, like the old Velcro sneakers we used to wear as kids. Rich, you might still wear them. That's okay. But, it's the Velcro. You rip these off onto a card, they go. And listen, soccer market, like we just talked about, is a bigger one than probably golf. So this is going to be a big hit. And I know I can bag on Topps and Fanatics sometimes, but those debut patches were a great innovation and something different, right? And so I liked them. I didn't get any, obviously, or pull any or buy any, but I liked that parallel, that kind of 1-on-1 card where if Anthony Volpe turns in to be the next great Yankee shortstop, that card's going to be $1 million card headlining an auction someday, right?
Has anybody pulled that? I don't think I've seen anybody pull that card.
I don't know. Not me for sure. I didn't pull any of them, so I don't open.
I don't think I've seen some of the bigger names pulled from that set.
No, neither have I.
So that's whenever, well, maybe we can start a rumor they went out the back door to certain people, but this is going to be a bit. I like it. I may not be a soccer card fan, but people who collect soccer, I'm sure they're applauding this and hoping to be an owner of one of these cards. Does this make any difference, though? I guess that's my question. Like, I think it's a great idea. Does that ramp up the soccer hobby any more than the level it's already at, or not necessarily?
Well, I'm going to let Adam speak more because he talked about this, but I just want him to extrapolate something talked about on Hobby News on the Hobby News Daily podcast. They didn't do this last year because with the timing. Could you imagine if they had done that for Messi's first game in the NASL or the MLS?
Yeah, that would have been. I mean, it would. I mean, there are. He did have the mystery autos, like the mystery autos within the Topps Chrome. I believe it was within Topps Chrome were actually just Messi autos. Like I'm not. They did it similarly with like how they did with the Vladimir Guerrero and Eloy Jimenez. I believe that those were in Bowman. I think Bowman Baseball, like their rookie autos. I believe that they made them mystery autos in that product. I mean, I think I view the MLS very similarly to how I view the WNBA. Like, they're both leagues that are very young in terms of how long they've been around. So, like, the MLS and the WNBA have both only been around for about 25 years. Like, I think last year was the WNBA's 25th anniversary season, and I think the year before that for the MLS was their 25th anniversary season. So, like, if you look at if you look at like, I would be interested to know if you were to go back to the inception of the NBA, 25 years into the NBA, into the conception of the NBA, where were they at in terms of how, if people thought that this league was going to be viable or not? Obviously, there was no, you probably find, like, unfortunately, you have to look for like newspaper clippings and stuff because it was way before the internet. I mean, it was 75. They did 75 years a couple years ago, so that'd be way before the internet. So it'd be probably a little bit hard to find. But yeah, if there was a messy one, I mean, the thing with soccer that I think is good that they're doing is they're making it clear which players are going to be like rookies, I think, which over the past few years, that's been one thing that I've noticed that's been a little bit tougher to distinguish, and why I think actually soccer may not be as popular as some other sports, because for a while there was no clear answer on like what a player's rookie card was. And with the MLS, so MLS, WNBA, why I think that there are more players that are going into those leagues now that are much better than where they were in the past, 10 years, is that at the age of 13, 14, when it's like, okay, well, now you have to really, or even maybe some players younger than that, you have to decide whether you're going to do that, like whether you are going to try and make it to those leagues. And with the MLS, you can play in the MLS at 16. So it's like, it might even be younger than that. WNBA, you have to be 21, I think, to get even drafted. So you have to play at least 3 years. It's kind of like football with players where you have to be in the league, you have to be in the NCAA for at least 2 or 3 years. But now there's actually a viable option for those players to make it to that league and make money doing this professionally, where like Christian Pulisic is I think one of the last players, American players at least, that will have to go overseas to make his professional career viable. I think players can make their professional career viable by starting in the MLS now, which I think is going to be big for those types of players, because like you said, there are the home teams within the MLS. So it's like you have, for example, like a Brendan Aronson was one of the first players that kind of came up through that Philadelphia system. Then he goes overseas. His overseas career has been okay, but like if he's a player that goes overseas and he has a monster career, people are going to probably remember he started in Philadelphia. Like he has MLS Philadelphia rookie cards. So with these patches, I guess it'll be interesting to see if they limit the patches to rookies or if it's whoever, because I think one other thing with the MLS now is they're getting players. So, Sergio Aguero not Sergio Aguero. So with Messi, there's another player that Messi has played with.
Well, one thing while you're looking that up too, I want to, speaking of Messi, I read, I don't know if it's true or they're going to try to do something where they sneak one in there. He made his MLS debut last year with Miami, Adam and Rich. So unfortunately, there's probably not going to be a Messi MLS debut patch unless somehow, I don't know how they would even do this, and they would probably take a lot of heat. They do it retroactively. I don't even know if you can legitimately do that. And a comment from John Keating, does anyone actually know MLS?
Yes,
Click? I will tell you this.
Harris.
Yeah, that, and I will tell you this. In the last 6 months of shows that I've done, I've sold 5 sealed MLS boxes. I don't know whether that was a fan, someone chasing hits. I'm just saying there's a market for it. I sold 5 boxes that I would never open, but had in my inventory, put on my shelves at my show, and they sold over the course of 6 months.
Adam's point.
Oh, sorry. It was Luis Suarez was the player. And sorry, I can finish up really quickly here. Luis Suarez is going to be playing for Miami FC, who, like, Luis Suarez is he's like an iconic player within the world of soccer. He's probably going to be getting one of these patches on his card because he's making his MLS debut. Actually, they already made the MLS debut. So actually, maybe that's something I need to take a look at as well. But either way, you have players who are, pretty big coming from overseas. Now, we had already seen that with, we had like David Beckham, we had Zlatan Ibrahimovic, we had like Wayne Rooney way back in the day. But now we're really seeing that and I think those players came over sort of like, Zlatan went back over to Italy and played for Inter Milan. So, or AC Milan. So he was pretty good. But either way, you have players who are more who are less in the end of their careers and more towards the end of their prime that are coming over here. Luis Suarez, for example. I mean, he only might play a couple more seasons, but if he plays here with Messi, that's going to be very interesting because they played together in the past, and the MLS is getting these types of players. So that's, I think, a big deal. And I'm going to look it up real quick. If
To
Luis Suarez
Adam's point about local players moving on, Weston McKenzie.
Mm-hmm.
I had a bunch of hand signed cards at Kyle Robertson's last Investabilia show. It was supposed to not have sports cards, but he wanted to get some more tables into the room. So we baseball card dealers who he's known for a long time, we were in the back of the room, which is fine. And we actually we had a lot of collectors come to the show that were baseball card people. When I say baseball card, sports card. And I had somebody trade me some vintage cards for those Weston McKenzie autographs because he thought he could do really well with them. And I'm saying, I'm going to get vintage baseball cards for this. I'm all in on that. So just like John at the show with his unopened boxes, there is some interest. I don't want to say a ton, but I think it's a growing, but as you pointed out, there is a hometown component to that. And we talked about that with the golf, but a hometown component, and even Caitlin Clark has a home state component with Iowa, where basketball is huge. So when you have a home area component and you have popular players, you have a winning combination. Mm-hmm. And you're right about I didn't realize the LIV had teams, but I don't see them as the New York, whatever it was. There was no New York there. There was no Boston there. There was no Dallas there. There was just a team name. A team name is fungible.
Yeah, like I said, I've sold Major League Soccer. I couldn't tell you much about it. I just had product. I got in a package deal. Kind of just comped it and priced it. And I have a couple boxes left. I'm looking at them, but I probably had 10 at one point. I'm down to 3 or 4. So I've moved it. Somebody likes it enough to buy it. And like you said, you still got those teams and those local fans that will probably collect it on the local level. I guess it's on these companies, guys, to market it into the areas where MLS has teams. Miami card shops at the arenas or stadiums themselves, maybe get them available. I'm sure they have merch tents or merch trailers, right? Get those MLS products right on site of an MLS game. That's what Fanatics is good about doing, right? Is marketing. So I'm sure we'll see that aspect. People will chase these. Going back to these debut patches, people will chase them. They're obviously 1-on-1s, and I don't even a soccer fan, even a non-soccer fan would probably still like to get their hands on a 1-on-1 debut soccer patch, if for no pure reason, just to sell it and make money. And we may not like that aspect of the hobby. I get that, but it's a real aspect, and it does drive product. So I think there'll be people buying this product that may not even be soccer fans. They're buying the breaks, right? Just hoping to hit one of these debut type patches or a low numbered card or an autograph card. So it's going to sell. It'll be interesting to see how they incorporate Messi into this, with it being now his second year in the MLS, not his debut. That'll be interesting, but
so Luis Suarez, that player that I was talking about, he did have a debut patch on his jersey. So there will be a 1-of-1 Luis Suarez debut patch. I finally was able to find a picture, and he had the patch on the jersey. So I guess that means that it's not going to be exclusive to rookies. It will be players that are coming from overseas that come here and play in the MLS. Like if Brendan Aronson, for example, comes back, he probably wouldn't, because he already got his rookie and he already played in the MLS. We probably wouldn't get that debut patch. But Suarez, for example, he's a big name that did get that debut patch, so he is going to have that 1-of-1 card. So that's going to be, I think that's a cool idea, and I think it gives, I don't know, I think it gives out of the United States collectors a reason to be interested in MLS products, because like if you have a player who, I don't know, if you have a player who played for maybe Dortmund, or you have a player who played for another German team like the Bayern Munich or something like that. Like if they played their whole career and then they decide to come here, you probably have a fan base of people who are going to be interested in that specific card if they also get the debut patch. So like I don't know, if like if Reyna comes and plays in the MLS one day, he'll get a debut patch even though he's played overseas for so long. And I guess that will also be interesting to see, like if Topps or Fanatics ends up ever getting the FIFA license, or if they do, because they do have the Champions League license, this is one of the nuances that I think is a little bit confusing. So like Panini has the Premier League license, but Topps and Fanatics have the Champions League license. So like Topps and Fanatics can make English Premier League player cards, but only to a certain extent. They have to be in a Champions League set where the Panini can make Prism Premier League. So it's like, are they going to do this? Like maybe this is a test for what they'll try and do overseas. I actually think it'll probably be a lot harder to do that overseas, if I'm going to be honest, because you got to get the patches over there and you got to get the players to buy in, and what ends up being the rookie or whatever. But either way, I think it's hopefully a step in the right direction for Topps and Fanatics to take soccer a little bit more seriously in the grand scheme of things, which, I mean, that's something I've been waiting on for years. Like soccer has been one of the main sports that I followed within sports cards really since I got into it. So I'm excited to see that, Fanatics and Topps are taking soccer a little bit more seriously now with this patch, I suppose.
Well, you also bring up, and I'm always thinking about missed opportunities. And granted, we can't set the Wayback Machine to the 1970s, much as I'd like to sometimes. John was just starting to let Topps baseball cards in 1979. Reggie Jackson in your first pack, if I remember correctly.
That is correct. Yeah, Mr.
And
October.
Adam,
That's what really.
I doubt you've been born in the 70s, I'm guessing. Because he's young. But thinking about missed opportunities, I wish Topps had done a North American Soccer League set in the 70s, when Pele came over and Franz Beckenbauer came over. They both played for the Cosmos, and Giorgio Chinaglia and Shep Messing and all the great players, Carlos Alberto and all the great players for the Cosmos, not even counting George Best coming for a different brief time to the NASL and other of the great soccer players. We could have had NASL rookie cards in the 70s. We have Sportscasters cards, but that's not the same. And we could have had a tennis set in the 70s because tennis was huge in the 70s. And they Topps was doing so well, they never probably said, this is too much effort to actually chase down every single player in tennis to get a set. And same for golf, but all those sports that were on TV, when you have 3 TV stations. And so it was missed opportunity then, and I'm kind of glad we're not having the same missed opportunity today. We're going to get Messi, we're going to get Suarez in Miami uniforms, and that's a great thing, and that's something that I'm glad to see is going to continue.
All right, guys, we're up against the hour. One quick topic. I know we went a little low key. Let's bring it back a little mainstream. We don't have to spend a ton of time on this, but I finally opened my traditional box of Topps 2024. I saw the spec sheet pictures of it, and then finally opening it personally. I thought it looked better in person. That neon light effect, a little bit of a different design. I kind of like white bordered type cards. I will tell you this: it's tradition every year since 1980. I open a box of Topps flagship. Usually the first week it comes out. This year I did very well with what I pulled. I got a acetate to 10 Jake Fraley and a Mason Wynn red auto to 25. He's the 43 on the top 100. Both those cards are long and sold and paid for the box about 4 or 5 times over. That doesn't happen every year, so I don't want to act as if it does. But this year, as Sammy Sosa would say, Topps flagship been very good to me. So I can say that this year. I can't say that every year. But I actually like the design. Will I open more? Maybe here and there in dribs or drabs. I'm going to a Topps Rip party tonight at Nick Brower's card shop in New Hartford, New York. Shameless plug there for him, but he's a great guy, great store. That's 7 to 10 p.m. in New Hartford, New York. Going to have a lot of deals and silver packs and special stuff and giveaways. And they're doing that across the nation at Rex, the sports card shop as well. They're going to have Jody Davis, former Chicago Cubs legend, in store signing autographs and probably ripping a few packs as well. So check your local LCS listings. There's probably a Topps Rip party in your neck of the woods. I'm going to travel an hour to go to mine and see, kind of cover it for Hobby News Daily, cover it for Sports Card Nation. And so I'll end on that. But go ahead, Rich.
And I'm traveling 5 minutes to my Hobby Rip party tonight.
There you go.
And
any rip part? Yeah, go ahead, Rich.
It should be a lot of fun. It's a positive thing. I'm glad Rex and his team are doing at both their locations. I know the place I normally go to there at Collecticon downtown. So they said, "Oh, just go to Triple Card Plano." And I said, "Oh, that's even better. That's closer to my house than your store." And they actually gave the store is called the Beast in Plano. And they gave me a whole bunch of donations the other day, including somebody had pulled out their hits they wanted to keep from 2024 Topps, and they gave me everything else, which is great for my purposes. And so I just processed a whole bunch of donations, taking them out of the wax boxes and putting them into 3,200 or 5,000 count boxes. And I agree with you, John. I'm really impressed. The names are readable. The numbers are readable. And the design is good. And I suspect that the new influx of talent they received from Panini really helped cement how good this product is this year. And you're muted again, John. John, you're muted.
I can just go here. I think maybe.
All right, hang on. There we go.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
What's up with these rip parties? Special cards. Yeah, they got special pricing. I know they ship to the store some special product at discounted rates. There are silver packs. In some stores, they are celebrities. I know in Nashville, Johnny Manziel will be there. I don't know the correlation to baseball. In sports card shop, you got Jody Davis. I don't believe Nick got anyone at New Hartford, but he's got some special product, some special silver packs, some giveaways, some gift cards from Fanatics. So it's just a party for 3-4 hours. I think there'll be some food involved if that's your cup of tea, probably some pizza, some drinks. Just if you're having fun, right? The hobby's supposed to be fun. It's a fun night, same day all across the country. Where you can go to your local LCS, support them. Don't get me started on supporting local LCSs.
I will say Rob Veras has posted on Facebook. He has, I think, the UCLA quarterback will be doing an appearance there, and I'm sure there will be other player collectors at other stores around the country as well. I think that's kind of neat.
I'm sure there'll be a few surprises unannounced, right? We'll make the hobby news, and we'll find out about it tomorrow. And that's
Philly Joe. I don't. Sometimes there are special cards, and sometimes they're just and sometimes you do buy stuff from Fanatics for special things they will give out at the door. The stores will give out at the door. I mean, it's really a fun experience to go to, especially, I will say if you're doing vintage cards, that's probably not the right place for you to be at. But if you enjoy anything about modern cards, even if you enjoy just opening packs, a hobby rip night is a great experience, and a lot of times they are combined with trade nights too. And, like, for example, here in Dallas, it seems like, and I saw other places. So it's some of the hours are also 4 to 7. I know I'm going to be very happy being home at 7:30 on Saturday night instead of 10:30 on Saturday night. 10:30 is past my bedtime. Remember John posted that I'm, 101 years old in the next birthday. You need to find that.
I got that from Wikipedia, Rich. Like, you blame Wikipedia.
I'll blame Wikipedia, so I'll be 101 on my next birthday, and therefore,
listen. If it makes you feel better, I'm catching up to you. It won't be long. I'll catch up.
Have you hit 50 yet?
Oh yeah, last year. So I'm 51.
Okay. You're halfway there.
Yeah, I'm not going to live to 100, so I'm more than halfway there. Fortunately or unfortunately, I guess depends how you.
By the way, I just noticed your sweatshirt.
Yeah, this is the official podcast hoodie. It's not really new; it's a couple months old, but
I've never.
I'll be rocking. Yeah, I'll be rocking it tonight. It's got 42 on the hood. I'm not gonna and a logo on the back. So I don't know if you
nice.
Oh wow!
All right, enough about that.
You need to make more. You need to make more of those. It was wonderful when we had our one little cold snap this year. Our friends from the Dallas Card Show gave me a hoodie, and it was wonderful during the cold weather snap.
Yeah, I wear this. Listen, we don't really have warm weather in Syracuse, so I get to wear this more often than not. And
John, it's going to be 90 in Dallas on Tuesday.
Yeah, well, I'm a little jealous. If we add up the next, if we add up the next 3 days of temperature here, we'll hit 90. So if you add to Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, we'll have 90 if you add those.
Well, we'll be 90. We'll be just about 90 on Tuesday. So I'll see your 3 days, and I'll match you one day.
Yeah,
and then we have a cold snap, and we'll be in the 60s, which is the normal temperature.
That would be a warm front right now.
Right.
So.
Anyway, thank you all for listening. This has been fun. Adam, do you have anything you want to close with? Other than I do want to give my weekly shout out to. I love listening, especially when I'm doing Hobby Hotline, to your recap show as a good warm up for what we want to talk about.
Right. Yeah, I mean, Hobby News Daily is daily. Obviously, Hobby News Daily is daily podcast, about 10 to 15 minutes, kind of depending on how fired up I get about whatever the topic is for that day. So go check that out. That's Apple, Spotify, Hobby News Daily. We're coming up almost on a year that we've been doing the podcast. I think we launched it in either March or April of last year. We're definitely over 250 episodes, which is really, that's a really cool accomplishment. That shout out to Danny for allowing me to kind of do whatever I need to do on the podcast. I've done podcasts in the past, like my own podcast, but he's basically letting me do it the way that I want to. So big shout out to Danny. He's a host sometimes here on Hobby Hotline as well. And yeah, just one of the things I talked about on social media is people complaining about different products and complaining about certain things. And it's like, within sports cards and within the hobby, this is always my message at the end of these episodes that I always try to say is there's going to be new people coming in every single day. And there's going to be new people that were in the same position that you potentially were in when you first got into sports cards. I'm not talking to anyone specifically. I'm talking about more just the industry in general. So, if people have questions, if people don't know the answer to something, be nice to them, give them the answer they're looking for, because that's one thing that makes social media great. Is that if you have a question, sometimes you can get an answer fairly quickly. Sometimes, you might get called an idiot, but at the same time, I'm telling people don't do that. If you're thinking about doing it, don't just, give people the answer that they need and then move on about your day. You're helping somebody who was in a position similar to you, back in the day whenever you got back into sports cards. So just be nice, be intelligent, give intelligent answers, don't be sarcastic, all these types of things to new people coming into sports cards, because those are the people who are, hopefully going to continue to make this industry as great as it is today.
Yeah, well said. And we were all new, like Adam pointed out, we were all new at some point. I was new a long time ago in 1979, kind of scary to say, but and we're not going to be here forever. That's how life works. And so we need that next generation carrying that baton forward. People are going to collect what they love or they like. People are going to buy, whether you like it or not, people are going to buy product just to flip and sell. And you might not be your MO, may not be your forte, and I get it, but it may be theirs. And if they're doing everything legally and above board, there's nothing you can do about it. You don't have to like it, but to each their own, as they say. I also just want to kind of close with what we started with. Congratulations to Connor and Zachary Black. I'm assuming everything went well on your bar mitzvah. And welcome back, Mr. Chris Carlin from Collectors to the show. You'll see him with March in March. So glad to have him back. Sometimes we have people come back, and he's one guy we're glad to have back. So look for him in March. And I've been told like nothing's off base, so I'm sure those should be some interesting shows when he's on. So, Rich.
As Chris Harris would say, keep on rocking the free world. I'll just say, if you have a chance, go to Hobby Rip Night tonight. I've seen other people, there's always a lot of good hobby content. And as you saw, we did an hour of a lot of positive things, and there's always good things going on. Mm-hmm. And if you search for the good, you just might find it.
All right. Well, for Adam, Rich, and Pastor John, we'll see you next week.